Hello everyone, welcome back to some more From the Depths. We've got a new update out and we're going to be taking a look at the changelog today. So right off the bat, let me choke. No, it's fine. Let's take a look. Laser cavities have been added, which have more energy storage. So if we go over here, we have a laser wavefront adjuster. Ooh. Increased penetration of the target's defenses. This enables it to have a small amount of laser shield and smoke piercing at the cost of outright damage. Well, that's fun. That hasn't been there before. We've got the laser colorer, laser combiner, laser optics and all that's still there. Laser munition defense, so you can now shoot down large cram shells, etc. Uses an AI munition warder component to spot the munitions, and then you can try and take them out with a laser. So if that's your jam, you can go and try that out. So we've got the laser cavities over here. Then we've got single input laser cavity, and we've got a storage laser cavity. So that's where you store all the power that you can use pumps to get in. Right, so that's pretty cool. We'll be revamping lasers shortly then. We've got the new RTGs, although I think they've been in the game for a while. We've got the 2 meter, the 4 meter, and the 3x3. They generate a little bit of electricity. They also do it off camera now, so if you pull them out of play, they will still keep producing all the power, so that is great. That's a little fix that they added. We've got a spares processor, so we can now convert unprocessed resources into spare parts. You no longer do you have to walk up to a spares crate and be like Q to fill them all up 100 million times. You can now just have something making spares for you. That's great. Next up, tactical new component added for kamikaze runs. So if we go to miscellaneous, we've got the tactical nuke here. If we are to press it, it does a giant explosion. As advertised, to be fair. And that is now officially added in the game. It was already in there for a while, but now it's official with the changelog, etc. And you can basically use that to make missiles, etc. and just send them off to fly towards enemy ships and ram them and explode. There's a minor bit of damage. It's mostly useful against things like the Deepwater Guard, etc. Although it does make a dent in armored vehicles, so you know, you may want to try this out. I'm definitely going to try this out in the campaign at some point. So we're about done repairing all that damage. There we go. Let's take a look at the AI, because we have some new cards. We've got, for example, Land AI, although we can't add that to a fortress, which does make sense. Can control tanks and other land vehicles. It is very similar to the naval AI, but it has a few key differences. Interesting. So you can now properly support land vehicles, which will be pretty cool. Shield busting disruptor conduit nose cone added for APS that channels EMP damage into the shield protector itself. So I think that's it to do with the ammo customized over here. And that can be a single module. Ooh, so they've added that as well. That's interesting. So let's take a look at the shell nose. Disruptor conduit. Upon impact with the shield, will unleash all stored EMP damage into the shield and tunnel it back down into the protector itself. Rendering. Okay, so it takes 20% of all the EMP and it puts it into the shield, and the rest is gone, basically. Unfortunately, it makes the shell extremely inaccurate. That looks pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie, that looks pretty badass. Speaking of advanced cannons, we've also got the new 3 and 6 meter autoloaders with shells. What's this? Ammo ejectors. The ammo ejector quickly fires all shells in the attached autoloader up into the air if the autoloader is destroyed. Beware! The shells are still active if ejected in this manner and may cause more harm than good. So basically, it lists at the bottom, when an autoloader is destroyed, any chambered shells will be ejected. When a clip is destroyed, all shells will be ejected. When an ejector is destroyed, all shells in the autoloader and clip will be ejected unless there's a second redundant ejector. That's basically one way of trying to make your ammo racks on the turrets less explosive, although if you're going to be throwing them up in the air and you're not moving, they might land on your ship and they might impact regardless. They might hit other places that wouldn't have exploded otherwise. So it can be a mixed blessing, but you can set up like ejectors to the side, etc. So that if something goes wrong, you can throw it all out and be safe. Next up, we should have heavy armor over here. Heavy armor can withstand tremendous levels of punishment, and its high density provides decent protection from even the most piercing of munitions, while at the same time making it prohibitively expensive and heavy for all but the most crucial of applications. Heavy armor is doped with compounds that increase its durability but cause it to take EMP damage, which can be seen as another advantage to using it. So basically it is now EMP susceptible as well. Has a relative buoyancy of -356, whereas metal blocks only have 3.2. So let's place down a metal block, which has 10 armor. And then we've got a single cube of heavy armor, which is 4 times as protected. We can compare like the health. It's nearly 4 times as much health as the metal block has, and it is 10 times the weight. And it costs 100 scrap instead of 5 natural and 30 metal. So that is interesting. We've got things like the heavy armor beam. It just looks, wow, it looks pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. This looks very awesome. We might build some, I don't know, it's really heavy, so it would weigh ships down even more, but it could be useful. Depends on what you're going for. Fortresses, etc. Yeah, it's gonna be expensive, but bloody hell, you will be protected. You will be safe. Now next up, we've also got warp drives added. Speaking of warp drives, let's go over to air. Also, although I don't think we can actually use it here. I think it was an air. No, it might have been miscellaneous instead. Warp controller, there we go. So, place down a warp controller. And we'll take a look at the text. It says, main component of the warp drive system. It has 3 states: charging, the warp, and idle. They move on from one stage to the next. The distance your vehicle warps depends on the length of your warp rods. So there's warp rods of like 2 meters over here. Interesting, so that's warp rods. We've got the warp charger. Add on both sides of the warp controller, like this. This should be charging it. And then we have the warp terminator. That's supposed to be on the end here. Okay, so we have 4 meters of warp rod connected. 4 meter of warp rod, 4 meter of charges. Press Q to begin the warp drive charger process. Will require a lot of... Oh dear. That's pretty cool. Let's place down some batteries. I want to see how this works. We'll go to process resources for some RTGs. Now a lot of textures have been changed in this update, and we can see that when we go to the batteries. They now have actual battery logos. It's pretty cool. So let's place down some, not batteries, electric engines, which also look different. There we go. Model's basically the same, but the texture has been changed, which is pretty cool. It's also changes from like the ammo barrel, now looks more rusty and more old. Ammo parts box, basically the same. But yeah, a lot of textures have changed, etc. That's pretty cool. But yeah, let's get to the warp. Has been spooling up for 3 seconds. We'll use 500. We'll use a lot of battery energy per second. We'll take you 0.2 meters forward. Interesting. So we can just leave it to charge indefinitely, and at some point we'll jump forward. So let's quickly take a look at some fixes and improvements, because I'm pretty sure I've covered everything of the new components. We'll quickly Alt-Tab and scroll down the list to make sure that we can see everything. Improvement, fixes to adventure mode spawning difficulties. A bug fix, 2x2x2, ooh, which is warped. We'll set it up to charge again. We'll set a ship up here. We'll throw down like, I don't know, we can throw down a hamster. Lovely.
Turning off.
We'll leave the hamster to float there. He will be our distance beacon. Anyway, 2 times 2 times 2 resource containers now mirror correctly, which is nice. I like it when things mirror correctly. Fix the damage from particle cannon pipes that are correctly terminated. Fuel refineries now have several warnings when being damaged from gas buildup. Interesting, so let's quickly make this a little bit longer. I want to see more of warping if we can, that would be lovely. I know, I like experimenting with this. It's not any in-depth video or anything, but you know, it's nice to get a look at it. Okay, it's gonna take a lot more battery power, so while we're at it, let's get some more RTGs in here as well. Has been spooling up for a while, will take some energy, but we're gonna be making some jumps now. Anyway, let's get back to the list. I covered fuel refineries that have warnings when gas builds up. More support for land vehicles in land designers. They used to spawn on the terrain level and pop up, so that should be fixed. That's all good. Yeah, I think we're making like a meter-long jump, which isn't great, but eh. It might just be that this vehicle is not fit for purpose. Oh, there we go. There we go, now we're getting to it. We're going to be jumping very far now, so let's quickly cover more things. Radio thermo generators, these big boys. They now generate batteries, they charge batteries out of play. They fixed a bug regarding the selling of raw resource containers and placing of containers as prefabs. So I think that like refunded you or something. There we go, we made like a 20-meter jump there. Let's add some more RTGs. I want to see how far we can push this. No, we can't connect extra chargers. Can we attach them to the side? I don't think so. It has to be like linear or something. Yeah. That's a weird way to do it. 42% of the length of the vehicle is warp rotted, so it provides a forward efficiency of 7%. Oh. So if we were to add more warp rods, we'd be more efficient and jump further. And yep, there we go, we jumped 20 meters. So that's interesting. I think if we were to add more, we would get further and further. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool. It's probably going to be overpowered, like the creator said, but hey, we'll give it a go. There we go. We're now going even further. We're going to be jumping far. They fixed a bug with Lua error reporting, which is always nice. They improved diplomacy UI. They revamped it quite a bit. It's just a wrong button. We can't actually see diplomacy in here, which does make perfect sense. They improved that unavailable single-player game modes are no longer visible. So I think they've made unavailable modes not for viewing anymore, so that's good. There we go, we jumped 60 meters 30 meters that time. Did a bug fix? Rendering of big chunks of debris is now fixed. And they improved fleet mode AI pathfinding for naval vessels, which is nice. It's not a bug. Identification of when blocks should be permanently removed is now better. No more permanent battle damage during build mode, that's good. That was something that hit me a bit the wrong way, so that's nice that they fixed that. Love it. Fixed a bug, engine display is now correct when using an electric engine as well. Laser range now correctly calculated and displayed. APS penetration depth fuse is fixed, so they were broken apparently. But that's now fixed, which is nice. Improvement was made, optimization of several slow areas of code, which is nice. We'll be, let me quickly scroll down again. A change has been made, several APS block vertices count reduced significantly, which leads to a small frames per second boost, which is always nice. That way, you know, when you have a lot of advanced cannons, the game doesn't slow down quite as much as it used to. Then we've also got another change. Many blocks have been retextured, as we well have found out, and it's pretty cool. It adds a little bit, you know. The previous battery changes were sort of bland. I mean, I didn't mind the textures anything, but I think these look way cooler, and just warnings for like high voltage and everything. Awesome. And they also fixed a bug with cram shells, and they now explode on impact with terrain. They didn't used to. So that's nice. Right, content updates, next down the list. Loads of content updates to all 3 planets and a new planet. Ashes of the Empire. Added with a land vehicle campaign, no less. They updated the Deepwater Guard tutorial story missions. There's new planet icons in the main menu for switching between planets, which is pretty nice. And faction flags have been added for the Glau planet. Right, over to new features. Brawler player buff has been added and is very useful for adventure mode, so that should be personal buffs in here. Brawler takes less damage from incoming enemy weapons fire due to the rigor with which they procure and maintain their composite armors. Their armors regenerate faster, so it reduces enemy weapons and it increases health regeneration. Leaderboards. Many missions which feed scores into a player score metric which unlocks the luck attribute. So we can get the luck attribute now. We're basically doing missions that grants luck, which grants critical rolls for APS and cram accuracy improvement, shield penetration, shield reflection, laser anti-missile accuracy and component cook-off avoidance, ammo barrels, etc. And there will be more in the future. You can also set it to be unlucky. There's no luck in play, anything whatsoever. Next up, another change. You cannot order a fleet into allied territory and lose relationship when you trespass there. So no longer can you go up to the White Flames and be like, hello, I want to use your territory to get to the other factions. You'll have to go through them and kill them. You can now save your vehicle as an STL file for 3D printing. Wow. The option is in the vehicle info UI, which you get by pressing V. I think that would be somewhere. No, it's on there. Power, heat. Apparently it's supposed to be. Oh, there it is. Create STL file of this vehicle. There you go. That's pretty cool. 3D printing. Improvement, low level of detail mode added for distant vehicles. So that way our hamster over there, for example, isn't taking up quite as much detail. You can see the pop in over there. That's switching between levels of detail because we're now close enough. It's worth rendering all the bips and bobs. And he was like, you know, we're a bit too far away. We don't really care. And then when we use the binos to zoom in, for example, we get back in that range, and there we go. Next up, Shift P in bold mode will now cycle the following views. Density. So if we were to go, change that back, there we go. If we were to press Shift P, viewing drag, we can now see cost density. Now we've got no structural, so we can just see the parts. And then we Shift P again, and we're back to normal view. There we go. And we also now see center of mass, buoyancy, and drag are clearly shown in the bold mode now. So you'll see arrows occasionally. For example, if we were to quickly load in something easy, like the egg. Crappy boat, I know, but that's not the point. We've now got drag, so if we were to fly over to it. Oh, they've changed the chair. Look at that. It's now a luxury chair instead of just a ragtag metal chair. That's pretty cool. So let's speed up quickly. You can now see the drag's coming from mostly forward over here. We can see a little blue arrow indicating, yo, the drag's going backwards because you're going forwards. Lovely. We've also got the center of buoyancy roughly over here. It's twitching around sometimes depending on how we hit the water. And then there's the center of mass. That's cool. Quickly ditch that. Let's see if we can make another jump. Probably not, but eh. Right, balance changes and mechanics changes. Engineering captain skill works on fuel engines to increase efficiency and keep the heat down. So that would be the captain skill. Engineering. Extra efficiency, extra cooling factor, so that's cool. That now works. We've got the armorer smithing faction skill. That would be this one, the armor smith. They increase resistance to all damage types except EMP, which it adds a susceptibility to. So it's not a flat buff, it's a trade-off. If you want to be more protected against advanced cannons and cram cannons, you want to go Armor Smith. If you want to be safe against EMP, Armor Smith may not be your jam. So there you go. Fleet Supply faction skill implemented to increase supply range of forces. So that is, I think he means faction logistics. Fleet supply and supply dump collection radius increased. That's pretty cool. That'll be useful in the campaign. If you want to spend less time gathering stuff up and microing everyone around the map, that's your thing. No skill adjusts gravity or air density anymore, which is a nerf to Sky Captain and Space Captain, I believe. Yeah, Space Captain now only works on ion engine thrust, possibly making it a sort of useless skill. Sky Captain no longer makes it that your planes can fly at 700 meters altitude with any problem whatsoever. Right, next up, leadership ability increases fleet speed on the map and radar view distance. So now actually does something. Alright, that's pretty cool. I've been waiting to use that one for a while. Luck can make a 4 times accurate laser anti-missile shot. So again, luck. You might want to do those story missions now, eh? Skills have been rebalanced substantially. APS required barrel length for propellant burn and accuracy have been reduced, and have a roll-off for high shell lengths. Interesting. APS rebalanced so that cooldown scales using the standard gauge equation and damage scales using the strong gauge equation. Large shells should now achieve higher damage per second than before and be more competitive. Alright, that's cool because I am building a dreadnought. Let me quickly check. Does it actually... Nope, still use gauges. Okay, so there's no second like strong gauge or anything like that. Effective range added for APS shells. So no longer will they just fly for a minute until they are done. That's interesting. Particle cannon, arms with lenses. Now fire 2 50% strength shots at once. Alright, so they've changed that up a bit. You could basically use particle cannons to make like arms. And they could both have like their own lenses to fire separately. So you can have like one facing there, one facing there, one facing there. You could all fire at different moments in time. That's pretty interesting. Jets and propellers have a top speed and thrust falls off as they approach this speed. Okay. So this should significantly balance planes. So let me quickly load in the Wing V2. Do you go any slower by chance? There we go. You're now going 74 meters, so it is actually going a bit slower. That's interesting. It's an interesting change, definitely. APS shell modules have a maximum length, allowing you to use more fuses at higher gauge than previously. Okay, that's cool. Inertial fuses now allow fragments to explode on the far side of the shield. Interesting, so you can use fragment warheads, which I didn't really see the appeal of before, to basically penetrate shields, from what I gather. Laser anti-missiles can now shoot down... laser anti-munitions, sorry. They can now shoot down cram shells and APS shells. And missile warners can now detect large cram and APS shells. A docked vehicle can no longer use repair tentacles to repair the vehicle it is docked to, so no longer can you just put down a docking station and have a beam with like 30 repair arms. Repair your giant battleship. You're gonna have to do that with repair bots or just your own character now. Which is going to require significant changes of certain AI factions. Because they were basically balanced around it. Like I can remember attacking the... I forget what it's called. Quickly load vehicle and then load it in. There we go, built in, neater. Never mind. I mean, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, but I just feel stupid now for not knowing it. Anyway, Munition warners now need a clear line of sight out of the vehicle to function, so they can't magically look through the vehicle and be like, oh god, there's something on the other side coming to kill us. Which is pretty nice. Missiles have a detectable range based on the thrust their thrusters are putting out. So if you set your thruster to burn high and fast, it's easier to spot because it gives off a bigger heat trail. Whereas a slow burning missile might be a lot more sneaky. So that is something to keep in mind now. Munition warners are less effective if the vehicle is quickly rotating. That makes sense. If you want to put it on, if you want to, for example, have like a spin block, then you put a regular block on there with a munition warner and it transmits it, and you just set that to rotate quickly, so you basically have 360 coverage. That's no longer going to work as efficient. You're better off just having 4 sitting static. Thumper heads increase missile health by a factor of 2.5. So, basically dumbfire missiles are a bit stronger now with kinetic damage. They have more health, so they're harder to take out. It is now the barrel and not the gauge cooler that smokes in an APS system, so no longer will you have giant turrets smoking when you fire a shot. It's just a barrel now, which is a lot cooler. I can't wait to see that in effect. Laser warners also need a clear view out of the vehicle to operate, much like the munition warner. And you can now change shield. You can now factor shield strength rather than change it using an advanced control block. And shield projectors cannot project through other shield projectors, so you cannot have layers of shields upon shields of shields. That's a nice balance, definitely. Change both reflect and disrupt shields, ignore armor piercing, and instead have effectiveness proportional to shell indecent velocity. So basically, I think a higher velocity shell is less likely to bounce because it is able to ram through there. That's at least what my take is on all of this. We've also got exhaust. They need a clear line of sight out of the vehicle or they lose cooling potential. So basically point them up and away. If a shell with no fuses ricochets, it will not explode. Okay, I always assumed that they wouldn't, but okay, that's cool. High explosive missiles exploding underwater, i.e. torpedoes, do significantly more damage and have a larger radius. So basically, HE warheads on torpedoes have been buffed. Instead of always going purely fragmental, you may now want to get some high explosive in there. Pretty interesting. Vehicle temperature is now far more important for the use of IR missiles. And last but not least, shields and light fittings now radiate heat, as does the firing of cannon shells and missiles. That has been the changelog for version 1.957. I hope you found this somewhat useful or informational or something. I'll leave a link to the changelog down below, etc. So yeah, leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like as well, it really does help out a lot. I hope this video has been of some use to someone of you. It might have shown like how warp rods work. I might go into warp drives in detail later down the line, although I don't really have an intention of using them right now. Anyway guys, until next time, have a good one.